Well, I really lucked out getting this job. I mean, it's so easy, and the best part is, I get to work from home because of the quarantine.
Yeah, isn't it great working from home?
Steve, this isn't your home.
Robert, once you've been homeless, any place you go to is your home.
Oh. Well, anyways, thanks for hiring me. I mean, now I don't have to microwave my eggs anymore.
Glad to hear it. The job's not too bad either, though I wouldn't want to do it forever.
I mean, how could you? You'd have to be immortal.
You mean like the Highlander?
The what?
Fine, like those mercenaries on that Netflix movie.
Oh, Steve, you could just say movie, and I'll assume you mean Netflix, because real movies are dead.
You mean like Wonder Woman 84?
Wasn't that supposed to come out like 30 years ago?
Well, we're all making great points here, but what I'm talking about is that new Netflix action film, The Old Guard.
Yeah, I saw it.
The Old Guard is a movie adaptation of a comic series that no one's ever heard of. Charlize Theron jumps into action and kicks ass with her team of stereotypical tough dudes who sometimes sound like they've been hitting the pipe for too long.
Just because we keep living doesn't mean we stop hurting.
But don't let the violence scare you. These guys will be around for a while since all the heroes in the movie are gifted with immortality. Until they decide that they aren't. I mean, they still could... I guess they could still die? I don't know, maybe? Sometimes the immortality goes away after hundreds of years, but when does it turn off exactly? I don't know, but I bet you my stimulus check it's gonna be during the runtime of this movie.
Welcome to another episode of Go Before the Show. This is Steve, and I'm Robert. And today we're gonna be talking about Netflix's
The Old Guard.
So this was a movie that I was hearing people talk about. It's based off of a comic series.
A lot of buzz. Yep, an Image comic book, so not part of the big two, which is Marvel and DC, in case you were wondering.
Those are movie studios.
Well,
they
one
don't
of
make
them
comics
is.
Anymore.
The other one is the Snyder Cut? I don't know. That's got to count for something, right?
Oh yeah, there's a Snyder. I've been hearing things about a dark suit Superman.
Yeah.
Kind of looks like the black Spider-Man suit, but with Henry Cavill's head. But The Old Guard, I was turned on by this movie from the trailer. I really liked it. The trailer is only 15 minutes long, and it shows a lot of shots of Charlize Theron. Is it Theron or Theron?
I've heard both ways are acceptable.
Okay,
Sure.
A lot of shots of her walking with a backpack. It's very like Sarah Connor-esque. So after seeing the trailer, I was like, cool, it's about a bunch of people who are immortal, and we'll see how that turns out. And then I did.
I strongly recommend that we leave right now.
I think I actually read maybe the first issue of The Old Guard and never read any more because it just didn't quite... grab me. But I was interested in checking out the movie nonetheless.
For a movie that's about being immortal, I was just waiting to die the whole time.
Just because we keep living doesn't mean we stop hurting.
Okay, so first of all, I have to say, I don't remember too much about this movie because it kind of like, it was like almost like a dream. It just kind of flew by. And that's kind of what I've been hearing. Like, honest opinions from like really big comic book nerds that I know is they like Charlize, like she was great, but the movie itself, there was just something missing. I think someone mentioned it was like missing soul. And they were like, oh, that's a good way to put it. It's missing like that.
Oh, it's just like, you know, feeling anything. I mean, just like we explained for the past action Netflix films that we've seen, like they've all been pretty mediocre and definitely lacked any kind of, I don't know.
That like that's something that brings you back to it, where it's like I want to watch that a second time.
Exactly,
Yeah.
And I mean, with The Old Guard, it also suffers from a lot of the same tropes as those other action Netflix films. Should we go over some of those tropes now?
Sure. What are they?
Number one.
Give me your bullet points.
Okay, bullet point number one. Pop music during the action scenes.
Okay. It's so out of place. Like, I remember watching it and I said out loud, like, basically what happens is a lot of films will try to package things.
Sure.
They'll try to get a director and an actor with the same agent so that they're all working. I'm sorry if I'm getting information wrong, but basically they try to package things through the same agency,
right?
To make the most money for that agency.
Mm-hmm.
I was wondering if they had a deal with a bunch of musical artists that are maybe coming up that they want to put out there. I don't know if the musical artists were famous in this movie. I didn't recognize them, but I was wondering that if it was like a deal where it's like, well, we want to promote our actor talent, our singing talent, and put them in there.
Actually reminded me of another film with Charlize, Atomic Blonde. Did you see that?
No.
That also was an action movie, a very good one, that ruined their fantastic action choreography with pop music. Now this time it was 80s pop songs done in German for some reason. Just to be different. And I wonder if maybe, they're all friends and this is like their new project. So we're going to throw some pop music behind what I thought was actually well choreographed fight scenes, talking about the old guard here. Mm-hmm. Like I didn't think they had enough action scenes, but the ones that they had were pretty great. Mm-hmm. That definitely put them over your Spencer Confidentials and your, what's that other movie I told you that I watched that was terrible, based off of a comic book, The Last Days of American Crime. That definitely, it nudges them slightly above mediocrity because of their well choreographed fight scenes.
But I really was kind of thrown off by the villain.
Oh, that's bullet point number 2. Bland British villain.
Have you ever noticed how in Hollywood movies all the villains are played by Brits?
I mean, they even made fun of it in Deadpool.
Uh-huh.
It's also part of the problem of the old guard, becoming something that you can really invest in emotionally. It's like, that guy can't take Charlize, can't take the Marine girl, or even the bland supporting cast. Like, I guess we'll get into spoilers or whatever. So, maybe he was going to take some of their blood and become immortal himself, and then they would have this big epic fight. Right. But it did not go that way.
No, in fact, it went in a direction where he was crouching in fear with an axe. Yeah. And it was just so... again, his performance was very... I'm the villain!
Oh, Shakespearean? You can use the word Shakespeare. Yeah, mustache twirling, yeah.
Like, you can do that, but it has to be done in a certain way. Like, I think a good example of, like, I'm the villain, but, like, it works is probably, like, Loki from Avengers. Sure. He's so villainous, but you kind of buy it. You're like, I get it.
And he's actually almost more of like a anti-hero. But the original Avengers, he was the main villain for sure.
Yeah.
If you stack this movie against a Marvel movie, it's like, well, what do you get with like an Avengers or even what's the space one with...
Spaceballs?
No.
Space Force.
No. The one where they're always listening to music and singing.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, that.
Yes.
It's like, all right, those are very strong characters, like but with poor story and like plot or whatever. Where this has a solid plot, but all the characters are pretty bland.
Yeah, you know what? That's a good point, because aside from Charlize, like, the other guys that she was with, they all seem like the same person.
Exactly.
And I think if you really had, maybe you don't have to be as exaggerated as Guardians.
Right,
but
of course not.
Something like that, where even the Marine girl was kind of bland herself. Like, I liked her performance.
Sure.
I liked that she was kind of pulled out of, like, being in the middle of a war or whatever, and, oh no, you have bigger things to worry about now.
Right.
But once they had her, it was just...
What do we do now?
We don't have all the answers.
So Clarice has a friend that was taken and thrown in this kind of Iron
Maiden. I believe it was an Iron Maiden. Mm-hmm. And then they took her onto a ship and they threw her into the water.
And the idea is that since she's immortal, she keeps drowning and then coming back to life, drowning, which sounds pretty horrible.
Absolutely.
And she says that she looked for her everywhere.
That's right.
She had how many years to look for her? This is a few thousand?
Yeah, quite a while.
Even if she had 50, that's a long time to look for your friend. And she, I guess, gives up because she looked everywhere. She looked everywhere except the spot that she was in.
Yeah, but I mean, we're talking about the sea here, Rob. I mean, the sea
Was it
is...
the sea? I thought it was like, weren't they near land?
Nah, man, it was the middle of the ocean. They wanted to make sure that witch wasn't coming back.
Couldn't she have like, well, I guess no one would believe her. I'm like, couldn't she have gone to the police?
Constable, it's me, the witch that everyone hates in town. These guys, the church just drowned my best friend.
I know, I meant like the LAPD.
Constable. Oh, let me type that into my magical computer, sweetheart.
Wow, they sound very, very Boston, New York.
It's all cops sound alike.
All the cops sound alike.
Yeah.
So I guess they can only hope that her friend powers wore off eventually, and she just drowned.
Yeah, rotting on the bottom of the ocean with the Titanic.
But we find out later, after the credits. Did you wait after the credits?
Nope,
you didn't.
I didn't. I went to bed.
Well, spoiler alert. She's back, and can't wait for that sequel. If there is a sequel, because I don't know anything about the comics, what do you think it's going to touch upon?
Oh, hopefully they're going to answer all the questions they didn't answer in the first movie. I mean, like I said, I only read the first issue, and I barely remember that. Came out years ago.
Do you think they'll use the axe more in the sequel? Or do you think they'll just show
You're so
it
worried
once?
about that axe.
A little bit. Well, you're so worried about Highlander, so...
Well...
She has an axe right there, and it's not
go.
even the axe. Shouldn't it be the axe that she, like, passes down? Like, not passes down, but keeps with herself?
Well, I mean, that's what they do in Highlander with the swords. But, yeah, I'm sorry. I love Highlander. There, I said it. And I wish I would have watched Highlander instead of the old guy. There. Well, maybe not 100%, but okay. Here's what I want in an Old Guard sequel: no popular music during the action scenes.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, if they could, like, I think that took me out of the movie a lot. Like, if this just had a regular orchestrated score, I think I would have been way more in it. Well, I mean, I think we've said as much as we could, and I'm sure we've left a lot of stuff out, but only because we couldn't remember. Like, and
it's the movie's fault for not being memorable enough.
Right, and I don't do this to piss off any comic book fans, but I just don't remember a few scenes because they just like washed away.
See, I mean, I don't think you're looking at the Old Guard the way that, you know, Superman and Spider-Man, how they have these, you know, cults, like die-hard following. The Old Guard doesn't really have that. Like, a couple, you know, 100,000 dudes in their 30s read the Old Guard. They don't expect the public at large to know. I mean, and I include myself in this, to even know that it was a comic.
I mean, all the like possibly good action movies seem to be put on hold, like the new Wonder Woman and Tenet again. Which are we allowed to sit down and watch that movie, or do we have to stand?
Why would we have to stand?
Oh, because Christopher Nolan gets pissed if you sit down.
Really? I didn't hear that.
He has that mentality of like, if you got time to lean, you got time to clean kind of thing, where if he sees you sitting, he's assuming you're not working.
Oh, you mean people who work on set?
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I heard he's not the best.
I don't know how true that is, but that's really lame if it's true. So I guess that's it, huh? Should we call it?
Yes, but
wait,
how are we calling it?
Well, we just have to wait for the signal.
What signal?
Just wait for the signal.
Wait for the signal.
How the hell can you even tell?
We're just waiting for the signal.
A henchman's like thing exploding?
We're just waiting for the signal so that we know when to end the review.
What signal?
You'll know it when you see it.
Did you hire someone else?
Wait for the signal.
What signal?
Wait for it!
Are you having a stroke? What the hell?
Here it is.